Picture this. You're lying in bed at 2 a.m. and your mind is racing through every possible scenario of tomorrow's presentation. What if you forget your words? What if they ask questions you can't answer? What if? Sound familiar? Here's the brutal truth that most people don't want to hear. Overthinking isn't protecting you from failure. It's guaranteeing it. I know, that might sting a little, but stay with me, because what I'm about to share could completely transform how you approach every decision, every dream, and every fear that's been holding you back. Let me tell you about Sarah, a brilliant marketing professional I once knew. For 3 years, she dreamed of starting her own consulting business. 3 entire years. She had the skills, the experience, and even a few potential clients who had already expressed interest. But Sarah lived in the land of what if. What if she fails? What if she runs out of money? What if her ideas aren't good enough? She spent countless hours researching, planning, creating the perfect business plan, designing logos, comparing website platforms, everything except actually talking to a real client.
Meanwhile, her colleague Jake, with half her experience, launched his freelance service in 2 weeks. His website looked basic, his business cards were printed at a local shop, and his first presentation had a typo. But guess what? Within 6 months, Jake had more clients than he could handle. Sarah was still perfecting her business plan. This isn't a story about talent or luck. It's about understanding something fundamental about how our minds work and how they sometimes work against us. Here's what's really happening when we overthink. Our brain is trying to solve a puzzle that doesn't have a complete picture. Imagine trying to complete a jigsaw puzzle when half the pieces are missing. You could sit there for hours, days, even years, turning the existing pieces around, but you'll never finish it. That's overthinking. We're trying to solve tomorrow's problems with today's limited information.
But here's the fascinating part. This is where psychology gets really interesting. When we take action, even small action, we don't just change our external circumstances. We literally change how our brain processes the situation. Action generates information, real, tangible, usable information that overthinking simply cannot provide. Think of it like this. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a foggy forest, trying to see the path ahead. You can stand there for hours, squinting through the mist, trying to map out every possible route, or you can take one step forward. Suddenly, the fog clears just enough to see the next step. Then another step reveals a little more. Action is like a flashlight. It illuminates the path as you walk, not before you start walking. This principle shows up everywhere in life. Remember learning to ride a bicycle. No amount of studying physics, reading instruction manuals, or watching YouTube videos could replace those first wobbling moments when you actually got on the bike. Your body learned balance through the experience of imbalance. Your muscles learned coordination through the experience of falling and getting back up.
The same thing happens with our careers, relationships, and dreams. We think we need to have everything figured out before we start, but that's like expecting to see the entire staircase before taking the first step. The truth is, clarity comes through engagement, not through endless mental rehearsal. Now, I'm not saying planning is bad or that we should act recklessly. There's a crucial difference between thoughtful preparation and paralyzing overthinking. Preparation asks, what do I need to know to take the next step? Overthinking asks, what if everything goes wrong in ways I can't even imagine? Here's how you can tell the difference. Preparation feels energizing, like you're building towards something. Overthinking feels exhausting, like you're running in circles. Preparation has a natural endpoint. You gather what you need and then you act. Overthinking has no endpoint because there's always one more scenario to consider, one more risk to evaluate, one more detail to perfect. Let me share a simple but powerful approach that can break this cycle. I call it the next right step method. Instead of trying to see the entire journey, just focus on the next right step. Not the next 10 steps, not the destination, just the next one. Going back to Sarah's story,
Instead of trying to plan every aspect of her business, what if she had simply reached out to one person who had expressed interest, just one conversation? That single action would have generated real information. What are clients actually looking for? What problems do they need solved? How do they prefer to communicate? This isn't information you can Google or imagine. It only comes from real interaction. Here's what makes this approach so powerful. Each small action builds what psychologists call self-efficacy. Basically, prove to yourself that you can handle whatever comes up. Every time you take action and survive the outcome, whether it goes perfectly or not, you're training your brain to trust your ability to navigate uncertainty.
Think about the last time you were dreading a difficult conversation, maybe with a boss or a friend. The anticipation was probably worse than the actual conversation, right? That's because our imagination tends to create more dramatic scenarios than reality usually delivers. And even when reality is challenging, we almost always handle it better than we expected we would. This is why action, even imperfect action, is so much more valuable than perfect planning. Action teaches us what we're actually capable of. It shows us that we can adapt, that we can learn, that we can course correct along the way. Overthinking teaches us only one thing, that we're really good at imagining problems. But here's the beautiful part, and this is what gives me so much hope for anyone who feels stuck in the overthinking trap. You already have everything you need to take the next step. Not the perfect step, not the guaranteed step, just the next step. And that step doesn't have to be huge. It can be as simple as sending one email, making one phone call, or having one conversation. Remember, every person who has ever achieved anything meaningful started exactly where you are right now, with incomplete information, some fear, and a choice between thinking about it more or taking the next step. The only difference between people who stay stuck and people who move forward is that choice. So here's what I want you to try today, right now, before you get caught up in your next overthinking spiral. Think of something you've been putting off. Maybe it's a project, a conversation, or a dream you've been sitting on. Instead of asking yourself, what if it doesn't work out? Ask yourself, what's the smallest step I can take right now? Then take it. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. The fog will clear as you walk. The path will appear as you move. And you'll discover something incredible. You're more capable of handling uncertainty than you ever imagined. If this resonated with you, I'd love for you to hit that like button. It really helps more people discover these ideas. And if you want more insights on turning psychology into practical life changes, subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss a video. What's one small action you're going to take today? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take their own next step. Remember, the world doesn't need your perfect plan, it needs your authentic action.